Discipleship, First Level Training Library, Biblical Foundations for Freedom. This first discipleship library focuses on discipling new believers. It's within this first stage of Christian growth, from when they become a new believer, they begin to gain strong security from God's love. And that's what this whole training library includes. Many different resources to help you as a trainer and a new believer to understand what happens in this first stage, as well as in the whole development of spiritual life. This is our first booklet that we have, our discipleship booklet. We have both a leader and a student booklet, allowing the leader to use whatever Bible version they want to use. It's focused around the 3E, exaltation, edification, evangelism, and it's designed to help believers escape that focus, how am I supposed to grow, rather than focusing on what God is doing in their life and how God wants to use them to help others grow. Life lessons for the new believer. This was designed for two things. First of all, to provide a discipler a way of beginning to help the new believer learn how to study from God's Word. This is going to be their lifeblood. Up to now, they've been learning from others. They have to start learning from God. So it's kind of a transition into the second level. What we've done is detail the PowerPoint and the videos in such a way that you as a leader can see how I've done that and train new believers in using these lessons. It also provides a number of study questions and things like this that we can give to the new believer to help them to study on their own. This whole first series and the whole concept of spiritual development comes from 1 John 2:12 to 14, where it talks about the flow. That's what I call it, the flow, where we see a decisive, energetic development of spiritual life within every believer. 1 John 2:12 to 14 gives us a whole picture of the development of every Christian believer, from being a babe, a young person, to be a father, more mature. And so what we find is the flow is identified with this concept of life and what God is doing from the beginning of inception right up to full maturity, and how He grows the believer. It's a powerful force that's always there within the believer, and it's something that gives us a great faith in God's work in our lives as well as in others. So what we've done is to develop a whole seminar around this, initiating spiritual growth in the church. It helps do three things. First of all, it helps believers identify where they are at in their spiritual life. Secondly, enables believers to see how they have spiritually grown. And thirdly, motivates the believer to desire further spiritual development. And this desire to grow further is very powerful because most believers are caught in not growing. So at the first stage, they're to discover love that we're focusing on. The second stage, establishing hope, how the young believer gains confidence through God's Word. And thirdly, strengthening faith for the fathers, learning how to serve, how to be close to God. It's a very powerful seminar that I've used to train Christian leaders around the world. This training library also includes our cross-training relational discipleship, learning how to grow in relationship with God and people. What's unique about this cross-training discipleship program is that it helps give the opportunity to be able to discuss the character development of believers. Often we're focused on spiritual development of how to pray, how to go to church, things like this. But this is in terms of relationships with others, which God focuses on in terms of loving God with all your heart and soul, mind, and strength, as well as others. But most discipleship materials do not focus on that. This greatly helps us in dealing with those who have not grown up in a good, stable background. Another book that we just recently came out with is Life Core, Discovering the Heart of Great Training. This is a great book with lots of images to help stir on a greater understanding of how God grows His people and how He uses regular development of Christian believers to train leaders. Now this is very important because often we want leaders but we don't know how to grow them. The biggest need you ask the church often is we don't have those mature, faithful Christian leaders. Well, this book shows how it all works together, what God is trying to do within every congregation. Discipleship 1 Training Library includes so many different resources. It's a great library. These resources, along with others, includes some videos, a lot of PowerPoints, handouts, reading, resources to help new believers grow. And for a more special deal, we have 3 training libraries, and it's a great bargain, and we now have this on the cloud, all these resources. For example, if we want to get the discipleship level training library, you could download a PowerPoint, a handout, a book on whatever device you have, your computer, your laptop, mobile phone, your iPad, And it's ongoing cloud access, so it's something that you have access wherever you go, wherever the web is. You can just download it and put it right on your device. Adapt it, use it. We're just excited to offer this. Well, we hope you can gain access to this first level training library from BFF. Includes so many different resources to help a believer grow, especially to gain strong security from God's love. This is what's supposed to happen for a new believer. It is so critical in this age where we have the world speaking so strongly through media, and many believers are not brought up in strong churches or families. Discipleship Level 1. Biblical Foundations for Freedom. www.foundationsforfreedom.net, releasing God's truth to a new generation.